Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 524 and Doubleshot number 432, okay? Two Spider-Man trades. First up is the last book for now dealing with the Clone Saga, until I get the Clone Conspiracy trade and its tie-ins. Spider-Man, the real Clone Saga. Yeah, this trade collects the entire 6-issue miniseries with Tom DeFalco on the writing and Howard Mankey with Todd Nunick. Yep. This miniseries is what they had originally planned to do with the Clone Saga. For the most part, it does proceed the same beats as the 90s Clone Saga, except there's a bunch of differences. First off, May Parker does not die. 2. Peter Parker is not put on trial at all. You want to know why? Because Dr. Octopus does not die in here at all. Also, no Grim Hunter. Yeah, Grim Hunter does not show up in this entire in this miniseries. Also, Mary Jane's baby does not die in this continuity. Nope. Also, Peter, because Dr. Octopus wasn't killed and Peter Parker was put on trial, he found out that Kane was a clone of Spider-Man due to the Jackal pulling off his mask. Yep. And also, Ben managed to live at the end. And the Parkers live in May Parker. They live in a house in Queens. I think in the original miniseries, I think they live in an apartment. Yeah, they live in an apartment. But the most part, it does proceed similar beats. Heck, there's at one point in the miniseries where Ben stops wearing the Scarlet Spider costume and wears the Dan Jurgens design costume that he wore for pretty much like the second half of the Clone Saga, which in the books that in the collected books is from books 1 through actually was the last book of book 1 of the complete panorama epic up until book 6. Yeah, he unexpectedly stops wearing. Yeah, there's no explanation in story of why he switches costumes. As a matter of fact, Peter is the whole stupid thing of Peter being the clone and Ben being the original. Yeah, that's not in here either. But for the most part, yes, this was the original plan that what Tom DeFalco and Howard Mankey wanted to do with the Clone Saga. But the marketing team kept telling him, no, you can't do this. We have to do this. We have to do that. Yeah, the marketing team was freaking stupid in the 90s when it comes to Marvel. One of the worst cases of this is how they marketed the Clone Saga, where they stretched it out for 2 years, even though they probably planned the Clone Saga probably lasting maybe a year at most. I mean, look at, say, Nightfall over DC. That lasted for 1 year publication. Death of Superman, 1 year. The original one lasted from 1984 to 1986. Yeah, 2 years. But look at this is totally a quick 6-issue miniseries, but for the most part, this is good. My friend Tivy has actually done a review of this already on his channel. Go check it out. You probably have to type it up and search where I look for it. But yeah, I get this book a 9 out of 10. It's really good. Next up is the first of 6 books collecting this series. A series that a lot of people didn't like. Especially how Dan Slott wrote the supporting characters. What series am I talking about? Superior Spider-Man. This is the first of 6 volumes that collect this 14-month series. Yeah, this series was around from January 2013 to April 2014. This is the first trade that came out, and it came out twice a month for 31 issues. Though they did bring it back, I believe it was I think it was about 4 months later, where they released 2 more issues. Yeah, and it's concluded that the Clone Saga takes place between a couple issues that I'll get to in a minute. This trade collects the first 5 issues of the series. Of course, it's written by Dan Slott. Artwork by Ryan Stegman, who people know recently as the original artist for Renew Your Vows, along with being first he took over as the about halfway through Jerry Conway's when he became the co-writer of the series until he left at issue 12. Currently, the book is done by Jodie Foster. Yep, Jodie Foster. With also artwork by Gillespie Kamakali, who is the current artist on Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, this simply put is to set new status quo. In the first issue, the Ox Spidey. Yeah, everybody dubbed him Ox Spidey. That no one called him Spider-Man. Yeah, the readers from reviewers, I remember when this was coming out, people always call him Ox Spidey. Everybody called him that. Because it's Dr. Octopus taking Peter Parker's body for a joyride for a whole year. Okay, you want to know what happens in here? Okay, in the first issue of the thing, you have Ox Spidey taking on the new Sinister Six, which is comprised of Boomerang, the Living Brain, Speed Demon, Shocker, and I think that's it. Am I forgetting anybody? Oh yeah, and this guy called, I think his name is Black Racer, I think it is. Yeah, because Dr. Octopus was because he actually founded the original Six. He is basically let's say he is disgusted seeing that a group that he founded, where the lineup is comprised of mostly C-listers. Well, mostly put, yeah, that's what they are. Like bottom of the barrel villains. Mm-hmm. And of course, what does he do to one of the villains, Boomerang? He beats the living crap out of him. He puts him in the hospital. Like, seriously. He almost nearly kills him. Mm-hmm. And of course, he starts also dating Mary Jane here as part of a minor subplot that lasts for about the first 3 issues, then he just breaks up with her. Yep. And there's also this ghost of Peter Parker. Yeah, this is not around for very long. You know how long this is around for? 9 issues, and then this is dropped completely without any explanation. Yep. That's mostly happens for the first couple issues. Oh yeah, we also have appearance by the return of the Vulture, who in issue 3, when they have this spotlight, which I remember Boo Goblin when he reviewed this, he says, is Dan Slott trying to have Spider-Man rip off Batman by having his own Spidey signal? Yeah. So, like in the pages of Batman, you have Jameson act like Commissioner Gordon, have the Spidey signal just like, I'm just waiting for my hero to show up. And of course, it's kind of like, it's literally ripping off Batman. I am not kidding about this. Yeah. And of course, the signal is destroyed, and then by the end of the issue, how he defeats the Vulture is by dropping him in this spotlight, where he becomes blind for a brief period of time. Of course, he later becomes part of the Superior Six. Yep. And that's what happens 3 issues in. Issues 4 and 5 dealing with this character, Massacre, which at this point, it only had been roughly 2 years since the last time he showed up. But hey, at least Slop kept him out of comics for a good period of time. Yeah, and he apparently was put in Ravencroft after he was defeated. Yep. So also, I forgot to mention this. It's also brought up, I think it's issue 2, I think it is, where we have there were 2 things set up in these 5 issues. One is having the Living Brain as, Peter Parker's assistant. And this lasts up until just before Clone Conspiracy. Yeah, this lasts for roughly about 3 years publication-wise. This lasts for a while. Even after Peter Parker takes back the body. Also, we have these Spider Bots. Yep, these Spider Bots. So they kind of had Octobots. These are pretty much the same thing, except these basically just habits where Spider-Man sort of coordinates with the fire department, police department. Like if it's minor, send it to the cops. Or if it's a fire thing, you'll redirect to the fire department. But he handles pretty much the big stuff. And of course, spent a lot of stuff being a mad scientist. Yep. After he defeats... also in this issue, we get the debut of a character. Well, first we have the return of Dr. Kafka, which at this point in time, do you know how long it had been since he last appeared? No one had seen this woman since the Clone Saga ended. So it had been roughly almost 20 years since she showed up. Yeah, in this issue, yeah, she dies. After 20 years of waiting, we finally get a return and she dies. Also, 3 years before this was also the last time that Ravencroft was seen in the comics. When it last showed up, an issue of a series called Vengeance of Moon Knight, when Moon Knight put Raoul Bushman in there. And he basically was there for about 7 years. Yeah, no one saw Rob Bushman for 7 years. Yep. And at the end of this little two-parter, which of course also, I remember Ed the Blue Goblin was upset with this. We have the end of issue 4. We have the return of Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin. He also mentioned in the recap for issue 5, this was never brought up at all. I remember that very well. I know because I've been watching YouTube a long time. So yeah, his return never brought up in the recap. He was really mad at that. I remember that very well. So at the end of this two-parter, Massacre dies, becoming one of 2 victims of Spider-Man. Also in this issue, we get the debut of Anna Marie, Dr. Octopus's girlfriend for the next year. Yeah, they pretty much were together up until Superior became amazing again. Yep. After this two-parter, when Massacre died, yeah, and the thing ends with the person who he blackmailed into being a sponsor for him. Yeah, she gets taken down. Story-wise, this is interesting for what Dan Slott did, but the one thing that really made a lot of people very unhappy about this particular series is how the supporting characters were written. The long-time ones. Though Carly Cooper was suspecting something was odd about Peter, but the supporting characters written like complete buffoons. And we'll talk about how the Avengers are written when I take a talk about the next trade. Yep. But otherwise, though, this is not too bad. The artwork is fantastic, and the story's pretty good. I'm gonna give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's not terrible per se. It's just that I kind of never agree with the whole thing of the way the supporting characters are written, the longtime ones, where they're all written like complete buffoons, and they don't know Peter Parker's not acting the way he's supposed to be. Yeah, that's what turned people off from that series. Not just the whole thing of Dr. Octopus taking Peter Parker's body for a joyride, of how the supporting characters are written. Yeah, it was even revealed in Jonathan Hickman's run for Avengers that apparently he doesn't like mutants. He refers to them as genetic freaks. Not joking about that either. Of course, also Avenging Spider-Man had to be ended the relaunch as Superior Spider-Man Team Up, which lasted for 14 issues. No, I think it was 12. Yeah, I think it was about 12, 13 issues tops, and then the book ended. Yep, the book ended. I actually own a few issues of the series. It's really good. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll talk about books 2 and 3 of the Superior Spider-Man trades. Alright, but enjoy. See you in the next episode. Bye.